Today, I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 roles in making a rap song. And I hope in doing this, it'll demystify the whole process of making a rap song, but also it may give you more insight into each role so that you can improve upon each role of these that you're actually taking on right now, which is probably most of them. I recently took a poll on my YouTube channel and I asked the following: do you have a team behind you, such as a manager, promoter, and producers, or is it just you wearing all the hats or grabbing services as you need it for now? And 94% said no team right now, just me. And only 6% said yes, I have a team. And I'm not surprised at all by these results because that's pretty normal actually. Like most of us, when we start rapping, we just want to see if we can do it. See if this is something that we enjoy and that we may want to continue doing. And then we kind of tend to take on all these different roles that I'm going to be talking about today, or most of the roles that I'm going to be talking about today as they come up. I like to think of it as like branches on a tree. Like you just start like on one branch. You're like, okay, cool. Like I'm rapping. You're like, okay, I'm just going to be a rapper. And then you're like, I want to record my rap. How do I do that? Oh, okay, now you're going a little bit deeper. Now you're about to put on another role. And then let's say you record your rap. You're like, how come it doesn't sound that good? Oh, snap. You just started walking into another role that we're going to be discussing today. So let's discuss the 5 roles of making a rap song. So the first 2 roles are songwriting. And you may be wondering, how in the world could songwriting take up 2 roles? So the reason that is songwriting is 2 parts. One half of it is writing the music. The other half is writing the lyrics. So on the business side of music, let's say you release a song. Let's take, what was it, like Old Town Road. Let's take Old Town Road for an example. That song blew up, I mean, crazy. And people found out Lil Nas X only leased the beat for like a couple $100. And people was like, oh my gosh, like this producer that he purchased that beat from got screwed. Without realizing, no, that producer was very happy actually, because he owned half of the song because he's the one that did the music. He wrote the music. Lil Nas did the lyrics, and they are a partnership. They both own a piece of that song together. So songwriting is lyrics and songwriting is music. So when you first started rapping, typically this is one role that a lot of you have already eliminated out the gate, because we live in very privileged times where you have hundreds of thousands, millions of instrumentals that you can get off the internet. You can get some for free. You can lease them. There's so many different options. I didn't have that luxury when I first started rapping. I had 2 instrumentals to pick from. They were on CDs when we used to listen to CDs. I had a Mariah Carey instrumental, which wasn't a rap instrumental. So I really only had 1 instrumental. It was to a group at the time called Crucial Conflict. The song was called Hey. Check that out, by the way, if you get a chance. Hey, in the middle of the barn. So I remember me early on, not having any beats. I had to start making my own beats. And that really caused my songs to suffer a lot. And I got into a rap group, and then we started sampling other songs like soul music tracks and stuff like that. And I realized immediately my songwriting just seemed to get better so much faster. And that's because I was rapping and writing songs over better produced instrumentals. So just rapping over a well-produced instrumental is going to elevate your songwriting potential out the gate, because half of it's already been done in a high quality manner. So it's going to lift your song up, because you could write dope lyrics, but if you're rapping over a horrible instrumental, that's going to bring the whole song down. The third role that I want to discuss is one where I've actually combined 2 different roles into one, because they pretty much go hand in hand these days. And that is the vocal producer and the tracking engineer. So the tracking engineer traditionally was the guy that you see running the boards and stuff when you go into a studio. And that's the person basically just hitting record for you. Or let's say you need another microphone, or you need to adjust a microphone. Like that person knows how to work the equipment, and they're there to run the recording session for the artist, okay? And then you have what we call a vocal producer. And a vocal producer is someone who knows how to get the best sound, the best performance out of an artist. They understand techniques like loop recording and comping, and they understand like mic placement, like how to get a cohesive sound. So not like recording something from this position and then you record something from this position and wonder why your recording sounds so weird. They understand stuff like not recording too loud and like getting the levels right in the headphones and stuff like that. They understand techniques like stacks, spot stacks, ad libs, harmonies, all that type of stuff. Like that's all vocal production type stuff, techniques that go into like getting the best sound and the overall sound that you're going for. But both of these go hand in hand now, because most of us is the tracking engineer and the vocal producer. When you're sitting here recording yourself, operating your software, hitting record, you're basically playing a role of both of these. Vocal production is so important. I'm telling you, like, this is where the majority of time should be going into when you're like working on a song, apart from writing, because writing is time consuming. But do not rush the recording process. Like if you're just going in there and trying to record one takes, it's probably going to sound like a one take, which is fine if you want a more raw and kind of unpolished sound. That's cool. But if you want a really polished sound, then like taking the time to record sections of your verses and then like recording multiple takes. Like let's say you have like 5 different takes, and you can go through those 5 different takes. They could all be perfectly on beat and all that type of stuff, but they're all gonna be just a little bit different. And there's gonna be things that you like about one over the other. And then we combine all these things together. That's what we call comping vocals. And that's how you get the best, like just most amazing overall sound. And when it's done right, you'll never know that it was done. Dr. Dre is notorious for this. Like he'll make people punch in just to get one syllable to sound better. So these are the things that you would never know, because this is what's going on behind the scenes when we're writing and recording songs. And all that we get to hear are the finished products. You know, when you hear your favorite songs, you just hear the final state of it. You don't hear how they actually did it. I got a few videos for you to check out if you want to dig a little bit deeper into this. I did a video called Why Your Rap Recordings Sound Like Crap, which covers the recording portion of it. Like a lot of times people record like way too loud, and I go into why and how to fix that. Also how to punch in your vocals like a pro. It's a very, very important technique to learn. Also recording rap background vocals, so I go into ad libs, spot stacks, and stacks. And I also did another one on how to get better sounding vocal recordings for cheap. So like just learning how to get the most out of your recording environment, which is typically at home. And the 4th role is another one that I've kind of combined 2 together, and that's the mixing engineer and the mastering engineer. And basically the way I can describe it in simple terms is the mixing engineer is someone who's taking all your recordings, is taking all the elements of the instrumental, if they have the stems, the track outs to the instrumental, or if it's just like a 2-track instrumental like stereo, MP3, or wave, or something like that. They're taking all that stuff and they're balancing things out. They're making sure everything just is working together. Just overall, just getting you a good overall sound, making sure it sounds good on different speakers, things like that. And then there's creative things that can go into that as well, as far as like, you know, being creative with delays and reverbs and effects like that, choruses and flangers and auto tune and all that type of stuff. The mixing engineer is balancing sounds together within a song. A mastering engineer is doing that, but they're typically doing that with they're kind of mixing a bunch of songs together like on one project. So for example, they'll take, let's say 8 songs that's been mixed, and this is for a project. Let's say it's an EP or something like that. And then they're basically mixing all those songs together so that they all sound good from one song to the next. So when you go from one song and you play another song, they don't sound drastically different. Like there's like not way more bass on one track than the other track, or way more high end on one track on the other track, so that you have more of a, I guess you could say, a more even kind of listening experience, if you will, from one track to the other. So they kind of they don't all sound exactly the same per se, but the listening experience is pleasurable going from one song to the other. They're not drastically different volumes and things like that, basically. Some people think mastering is just making things everything as loud as possible. Loudness can be a part of mastering, but that's not necessarily just what mastering is. Sometimes mastering is doing nothing. Sometimes it's saying, hey, I like the mix as it is, leave it as it is. Sometimes you're just getting another fresh perspective on something. And mixing is a very, very deep topic. Like if you're someone who's already starting to learn how to mix your own stuff, then you know what I'm talking about. Like I've been mixing now for, I guess, around 15 years, and I'm still learning. Like I'm still constantly studying and constantly improving and getting better at it. And it's probably one of the more difficult things that I've ever had to learn. Mixing is deep. It's so deep. You learn how we hear things. You learn about the frequency spectrum. You learn how to use a lot of different tools to accomplish different situations that arise. You learn how to use compression and equalizers and saturation and multi-band compression and sidechain compression and volume automation. You learn about panning and reverbs and delays and choruses and flangers, all types. It's deep. There's a lot that goes into mixing. So obviously, this being a rap focused channel, I haven't really covered much on mixing, but I'm gonna tell you, if you want to learn more about mixing, one of my favorite channels and favorite teachers is a guy named Matthew Weiss. He has a YouTube channel. He's actually Akon's like go-to engineer. He just got done working with Akon on some stuff. He is, first of all, he's a fire engineer, period. Not all good engineers are good teachers. Okay, those are two separate skills. He is really good at both of them. So if you want to learn more about mixing, I highly recommend you check out his channel and consume all of his content. He is amazing. And the fifth and final role, which I saved for last for a reason, is the producer. Most people, when they think of producer, they think of someone who just makes beats. That's a music producer. A producer is someone who oversees everything I just mentioned. A producer is someone who oversees all the roles that I just mentioned. And again, you are all technically producers because you're having to oversee all this stuff on your own tracks, most likely. A producer is kind of like a coach. A coach understands, let's say NFL, like football or something. America, football, other countries, football, soccer. So, sorry. So, we make things so confusing in this world. We can't just uniformly call something something. But anyways, a coach of a sports team, if you will. They understand all the different positions, all the different players and their roles and stuff like that, and they oversee that, and they have a strategy in place to get scores on the board, basically. A producer in the music world is someone who understands all these different roles I just mentioned, and they know how to get the best sound overall because they understand each one of these elements. They know if the beat sounds perfect, but we need a little bit more work on that vocal production. We can get a better sound out of that artist, or something's off about the recording. We need to fix that, or if the songwriting on the lyrical side of things is lacking and it lacks direction or something's off there, we need to focus on that. So for an example, Dr. Dre, when you hear Dr. Dre produced a song, it doesn't always mean that he fulfilled all the roles that we mentioned. He's known for bringing in, let's say, a Scott Storch and other musicians to play music on a beat that he quote unquote made, but it's not all him on the beat. Also, we know it's common in hip hop to sample music. So those elements that have been sampled wasn't played by that producer or that beat maker. He's also known for bringing in 4 or 5 different songwriters on the lyrical side to write the lyrics to a song, like a Jay-Z or a Snoop Dogg or a Doc. He's bringing all these people together. He's assembling a team to come together to create a song. If you ever look at Drake's credits, look at how many people is working on one song. You know what I'm saying? A producer is overseeing that entire process like a coach, like a manager, to make sure that that song comes out sounding as good as they envisioned in their head. A producer is also someone who has vision. A producer can hear how something sounds in its rough state, and they can hear how it's going to sound in its perfected state, and they already have it mapped out in their head how they're going to achieve that. That's a producer. And a more specific term for this, you would say a record producer, someone who produces records. So when you first start off as an artist, it's kind of like starting a business in a way. You're everything starting off. You're doing it all. You're fulfilling all these roles, and that's totally normal, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. If you continue to progress, and let's say you start really wanting to try to make a career out of this, then you may start looking at maybe trying to eliminate some of these roles that you're doing just to free yourself up time-wise. For an example, Tupac was known to record somewhere between 3 to 5 songs in a day, but some of these songs didn't even have beats yet. Like, he would just be recording over like a rough draft beat, or like just the click track, the tempo, the metronome. just playing. Like he was that prolific, and then someone else would come in behind him and they would make the beat, and then they would mix it and all that stuff. Imagine if he was trying to do all that stuff himself. He couldn't be that prolific. Also though, some of these roles you may prefer to keep on. Like let's say I've covered Cal Scrooby before on this channel. Cal Scrooby, the last time I checked, mixes all of his own songs. He has a friend of his that makes the beats. He also has someone else that's doing his music videos, all top notch, all sounds so professional, but he still does the mixing himself. So as you progress in your craft and maybe you reach a point to where you're like, hey, I think I'm actually trying to make a career out of this now. Like I want to be more prolific and free myself up a little bit. There's 3 things that you got to do in order to scale up, because if you're doing everything, then you are also the thing that's holding you back from doing a lot more of it, like at a greater scale. You see what I'm saying? Like if you're currently, like, let's say you're doing a song a month, but let's say you want to now do like a song a week. And if you just don't have time to do all the roles, play all the roles, then we got to get rid of some things. We got to free ourselves up. So 3 things you got to do. 1, you can eliminate anything that just does not need to be done. Period. It's like not even worth doing. If you can think of anything, get rid of it. 2 is to delegate things that you don't have to do that does need to be done. So letting other people maybe mix or letting other people produce, that type of stuff. And 3 is to automate. Automate anything that's repetitive that you don't have to keep doing. Let's say that you have an email list and you give a free song or something to everyone who signs up, and you've been doing that manually, sending people all these manual emails. And you could just automate that, and that could save you a lot of time. Anything that's like that, anything that you see yourself having to constantly be doing over and over and over again, where you could automate it within reason, try to do that. That'll save you a lot of time. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like, and also let me know in the comment section below if you was unaware of one of these roles, and if so, which one? My name is ColeMize with ColeMizeStudios.com, where I strive to make you a better rapper now. And if you're trying to perfect your rap skills, make sure that you get yourself a free copy of my ebook, The #1 Fundamental to Rapping, via the link in the video description below. And subscribe to this channel for more straight to the point, no BS, how to rap video tutorials just like this one. And always remember, when it comes to rapping, there's no rules, there's only techniques. Peace. Hey man, you see that subscribe button right there? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Oh, and don't forget the bell icon. Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Hey, I know you see that like button, right? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. And look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, today I'm gonna kill it.